Many people have a goal to increase their net worth, but did you know there are other types of wealth to consider as well? Keep listening as we delve into something even more valuable than money. Hello, and welcome to the Wealth Minded MD podcast with your money best friends. I'm Dr. Alicia Taylor.
And I'm Dr. Brittany Halford.
And of course, we're here to help you build wealth and make good money decisions so you can create the life you desire with more control over your time.
Alicia, can we talk about one of the most important money moves we've made as doctors? And I don't know about you, but for me, when I think about this, it's actually insurance. Yes, I know it's not sexy, but it is absolutely essential, especially disability insurance.
Facts. I got mine right after med school, before residency even started. And let me tell you, Prati Botto at PKA Insurance Group made the whole process so smooth. He actually cared, broke down everything, explained the fine print, and got me the best policy for the best price.
And what I love is that he treats everyone like that, residents, attendings, even docs on visas. He literally got you. He's super responsive, super knowledgeable. And if there's a better deal out there, he will tell you.
Oh, and if you're healthy, you could get approved for up to 10 million in life insurance. So not just disability insurance in only 5 minutes. No labs, no hassle.
So if you're serious about protecting your income and your family, call 1-800-258-1018.
Or email pradeep at pkainsurance.com. All right, Brittany, tell me what is going on right now. I think it's mid to late August. September is right around the corner. What's going on for you in Boston?
Oh my goodness. School is starting here in the Northeast and all of the schedules, back to school shopping, summer is ending. So now it's like, okay, how do I transition those summer activities to fall activities? Do we keep them? Do we let them go? So considering all the things, I had this thought as I was walking KJ to daycare. I said, you know what? I'm going to do back to school shopping. I remember as a kid, this was a huge thing for us, right? We had the expectation, oh, I'm getting new clothes. I'm getting some new shoes. Like I'm getting all of these new things to prepare for back to school. It's kind of like the start of a new year. You just kind of want to turn it over a new leaf. You get new book bags, you get new school supplies, all the things. People spend so much money on back to school shopping. Brooke and KJ, they have very nice clothes in their closet. I have some new school supplies stored away somewhere. They get a new book bag. I'm going to wash that book bag, make it look like new. It's really interesting how culturally we've developed these practices and they have financial implications. But how much usage do we actually get out of the things that we're purchasing? And why are we replacing things that still are fully functional? I don't know. I just stood on a soapbox there, so I'll climb down now.
It's so funny because Brittany, let's just say you and your husband are doing quite well for yourselves. It's so funny because occasionally I can get this frugal Brittany mode. And I'm like, Brittany, you can afford to buy your kid a new outfit or two. I'm sure they're very excited about, when I was a kid, that was one of the things I was most excited about because I didn't necessarily love starting a new school year. It's like, oh man, I'm going from summertime fun. Now I got to sit in a classroom all day and do homework at night. Like, this is not fun. But the thing that I was looking forward to was seeing my friends wearing this new outfit, getting some compliments, getting my hair done, having my new backpack. Like that made school exciting for me. So I understand your goal to not purchase new things that you and your kids may not need. But at the same time, give them some joy. They're about to start this new journey. I know you got Brooke enrolled in 20 different academic programs plus 50 extracurriculars. So she is like, what is happening? Mama got me doing math at school and math after school. So maybe you can give her a little something to look forward to. Or at least I can wear a cute little outfit while I'm doing it. So,
okay. So you calling me out. You calling me frugal, bordering on cheap. I appreciate it. I will partially receive it. One of the things that I did, I told them that by the end of the summer. So for KJ, his objective is to learn the alphabet. I think we still have 5 or 6 letters to learn for him. And then for Brooke is to read 40 books.
40?
40. She's going to first grade. She can read pretty well, actually, but they're smaller books. So I think she could read 40 books. How many does she have now? She's 15. We're going on a road trip, so she can read during our 2-hour drive. After they accomplish that, then they will get an allowance to go and buy a new toy. I just don't want to set the expectation that every year they're going to get all of these new things. It's okay if we buy it ad hoc, but I just don't want it to be the norm that now I'm spending $500, $600. I have to get new shoes for both of them, new book bags. And it's just so much new stuff for what reason? And maybe I'll do like an exchange with another mom where the book bag still looks new and it'll be a new to her or a new to him item. But just not new. I don't know. I'm still reconciling. It's just so much money that we spend for the expectation and how culturally we've created these norms. And I'm just trying to break down the norms. If you need new shoes, I will buy some new shoes, whether that's at the start of school or in the middle of the school year. Like, I'm not happy walking around with shoes that are talking, but I don't want it to be that at the start of school, mommy is dishing out thousands of dollars to get you up to speed so that you can keep up with the Joneses.
I think you bring up a good perspective and a good thought in terms of our consumption patterns and really bringing that into check and questioning why we do the things we do, why we spend money in the ways that we spend money. I will say, I cannot remember at what age my dad started this. I'm the youngest of three. I was definitely much younger than my brothers with this, but at some point, my dad actually stopped just buying us stuff. He gave us an allowance. We could use that allowance money on what we wanted. Maybe it was like $100 for school clothes, which I realize $100 wouldn't get you far today, but that maybe was enough for like one outfit or something back then. And then he would say, you can use your allowance money to buy another outfit if you want, or you can save it, or you can buy a toy. But now you have to decide what's important for you. And as we got older, it was like, okay, I don't want toys. I want clothes, right? You're in middle school, you're in high school, you want to look good or whatever. And other points, it was like, okay, I don't really need any new clothes, but I'm making that decision for myself because I would prefer to invest it, to save it, to spend the money on a new trip or something like that. I'm saying this to say that it made me really think about what was important. And it really taught me the value of a dollar. I mean, I remember, I think I was turning 10 and I wanted a birthday party. And my dad said, all right, I'll give you 200 bucks. And you can use that 200 bucks to plan your own party. That's a tall task for a 10-year-old, but I think he knew what my capacity was. And so I have vivid memories of like, all right, how much is the pizza going to cost? And like, okay, if I have a swim party at the community pool, then I won't have to pay to rent out the pool. And then the decorations, maybe we'll spend like 50 bucks on decorations. And I'll tell my mom to get me this fancy cake. And it was just like, I had to do what I could and with that 200 bucks.
Mhm.
But it really taught me how to plan and budget. And I don't know. I mean, your kids are younger than I was at that point. So maybe you don't go that far, but I'm just trying to give you ideas of like, you mentioned that you were going to give them an allowance to buy a new toy. Maybe you give them the free way to say, I don't know, maybe they're too young, but would you like a new toy or would you like a new outfit? Something
Yeah.
along those lines.
Okay, I love that your father did that. One, I think that's great. Once Brooke is 10, she's going to be planning her own parties with her budget. So I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mr. Taylor. And one of the things that I did with Brooke recently, we were at TJ Maxx. We had some toys. I didn't really put her on any type of budget or give her an allotted amount. But when we got to the checkout, I was really thinking, like, really? Am I going to spend $8 for this fish? It was like a tiny little fish. She said, yeah, mommy, let's get it. Yeah, mommy, let's get it. I said, well, Brooke, how much do you make per hour when you work for mommy? So she's been helping me to clean out my inbox because I have way too many emails. That's another story. And she makes $10 an hour. And I said, well, Brooke, would you like to clean out mommy's inbox for an hour in order to purchase this fish? And she was thinking about it. She thought about it. She's like, mommy, I don't know. I said, well, Brooke, if this is not a yes, definitely, I will clean out your inbox for 2 hours for this fish. Then you probably don't really want it. And so she really considered, okay, what is the task that I do in order to earn the currency that I can use in exchange for this fish? Because they're all different types of currencies. And she decided not to get the fish. And she thought about her time usage and the effort usage in order to achieve or obtain that said item. So that was one thing. And she was there processing with me. I think one of the things that I've learned as a parent is sometimes we underestimate the capacity of our kids in order to do tasks that we want them to do. And so it's no harm in introducing them and kind of helping them through that process. So I'm so excited that your father did that. And clearly it paid off because I know you're like, Brittany, I want to see the line by line item of how much you spend it, Wealth Minded MD. Give me that invoice itemized.
Yes, I am on it. I want to keep good records. We get audited. Oh, we got some receipts. I love what you said. And I love how you approach this with your daughter. I think that's a great idea in terms of saying, all right, instead of just buying you something because I had the money to buy it, let me actually see if I can get you to earn the money that it takes to buy this item. Because all of a sudden it went from, yeah, mommy, we should get it to, oh no, I'm not going to spend my money. I'm not going to spend my time doing what it takes to get the money for this. I love that because it was a reframe. And then it wasn't, mommy said I couldn't have it. It was, I made the decision, right? So she's not mad at you. And so I love that. I love that for her. I love that for you. And I think that that is the perfect segue into our topic today, which is about other kinds of currency. As physicians, one of the most important things that we can do is make sure that we secure our income because a lot of our financial plans are contingent on our high doctor income. One of the things that you will need to do is make sure that you get long term disability insurance.
Now, Pradeep and his team at PKA Insurance Group have a reputation for putting people over profits and always doing what's best. Do not hesitate to email PKA Insurance and his team today.
They will help you get the insurance you need with the service you deserve. I mentioned this before, Brittany, that I was reading this book called The Five Types of Wealth. I believe the author is Sahil Bloom. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it really made me think about the premise of his book, which is the fact that, yes, we may want to build wealth. Yes, we may want to increase our net worth. But oftentimes, a lot of us get so focused on financial wealth that we forget about these other kinds of wealth that make life worth living, that allow us to have this full and happy life. One of the types of wealth that I was hoping we could dive into today is this concept of time wealth. How he defines time wealth is with these three pillars, right? The first pillar is awareness, the awareness that time is finite, that you don't have an unlimited amount of time. The second thing is attention. Now that you know that you don't have an unlimited amount of time, are you directing your attention and your focus on the things that actually matter to you? And then the last element of time wealth is control. How much freedom do you have to choose exactly how you want to spend your time? And some of us may have a little bit more of one element than the other, right? Maybe we know conceptually, yes, I'm not going to live for forever. We don't have this unlimited amount of time, but we're not so good at the attention part, meaning we're not directing our attention and our focus on the things that actually matter, right? We've got 20 different things on our to-do list. We've got all these professional goals, but we haven't narrowed them down to focus on the goals that are most important. Or we've got all these things we want to accomplish in our personal life, but the list is so long that we're not really able to direct our attention and our focus on the element of our personal life that matter the most. Some of us don't have as much, we're not doing as well in the attention part. And then the control part, maybe you are trying to direct your attention into the things that really matter most to you, but you don't have the control over your time that you would like. I remember reading The Psychology of Money, which is a different book that I also love. And one of the quotes in there that I really took away was doing something you want or something that you like on a schedule you cannot control can turn that thing that you once liked into something you hate. In other words,
Mm,
if you can't control your time, even if you're doing something you like, if you're doing it on a schedule you cannot control, you're going to start to like that thing a lot less. And you might
mhm.
even start to hate it. And so maybe some of us, we're directing our attention to the right areas, but we don't have the control over our time that we want. So I really found that compelling, these three parts of time wealth.
I just feel like I should have put some money in the offering, because you're preaching over there. Oh my goodness. Alicia, okay. The awareness is key. Many of us are aware that time is finite, that we have 24 hours in the day and then the day renews. But the attention piece, oh my goodness, especially now, where are we directing our attention? Many of us are so distracted. We're distracted by what's going on in the world. We're distracted by social media. We're distracted by all of the dings and the notifications and the emails. And it has become overwhelming. And so when you said attention as one of the pillars of time wealth, that put a mirror. Now I'm seeing my reflection. How am I actually using my attention? What am I giving my attention to? And how do I value that thing that I'm giving my attention to? It reminds me of Stephen Covey. I love him. 7 Habits of Highly Effective Persons or People. But one of the activities that he calls us to do in the book is to imagine your deathbed. When you are there, like maybe when you're like on the brink of dying, what are you going to say that you wish that you spent more time of? not going to say that I wish that I spent more time on Instagram scrolling or TikTok, but I know that I spend significant amounts of my time and give my attention to scrolling on Instagram and TikTok. For me, that's one of the things that I really need to be able to control, because the control and the freedom, now what else could I give that time to so that I could have more control, so that I can have more freedom, so that I can have more flexibility. So thank you for introducing this to us. I'm really excited to learn more about what the author has written in the book, because these three pillars have definitely hit home for me.
Yeah, one of the things that hit home is, he's telling this story in the book about having a conversation with one of his friends. And at that time, I believe that he was living on the West Coast, I think. And he was talking with one of his friends. And I think he was trying to decide if he was going to go home for the holidays. And his friend said, "Oh, okay. If you don't go home for the holidays, when is the next time that you would potentially see your parents or see your family?" And he said, "I don't know." And the friend was saying, "Okay, well, how often do you go and see them?" And I think the author was saying, "Oh, I go see my parents once a year, usually around the holidays. Just this year, things are crazy. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to go see my parents." And his friend said, "Well, how old are your parents?" At that time, his parents were in their mid 60s. And he said, "Oh, I think, my mom's 63 and my dad's 65." He said, "Have you ever thought about the fact that you may only see your parents 15 more times in your life before they die?"
Wow.
And he paused and he goes, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Well, your parents are 65. The average life expectancy in America is around 80. So if you only see your parents once a year, you really only have 15 more times with them before they die." And he said that that hit home for him. Not only should I go see my parents this Christmas, but maybe I should be thinking about moving closer to my family so I can see them more often, or at least scheduling that in. Because again, it's not that he didn't think that his parents were gonna die someday. He knew conceptually, my parents aren't gonna live forever, they're getting older. He knew that. But again, it's that awareness of time is finite. And I think until somebody puts it in those terms for you, you can go throughout your life going, "Oh, yeah, I know I'm not gonna live here forever." But when someone says you may only see your parents 15 more times before they die, that is very different. Not only do I need to go see them more often, but I need to maybe change how I live or even where I live so that I create more of those moments. And
Hmm.
that really hit home for me of like, I remember when I was living on the West Coast and I was thinking about, am I going to stay and practice in California? Or am I going to move back to Atlanta? And I'd ultimately decided to move back to Atlanta because it was closer to my family and because I wanted to spend more time with my brothers and my niece, my nephews, and my parents, especially, my older family members before they passed away. And so that story really resonated with me, Brittany. I'm curious about what you think.
One of the things that it brings up for me is, now that I'm in the thick of parenting, the days are long. I have to prepare the meals, I have to do all the things, buckle the seatbelts, change the diapers, wipe the booties. I'm still wiping butts, my gosh. And while there are a lot of tasks, but the years are short, because, as you mentioned, after the age of 20, kids move out, they go to college, they become more preoccupied with constructing their own lives. So, how do I use this time to really create and cherish those memories that I'm creating with my kids? Every time they climb in my bed, instead of just telling them to get out, maybe I should give them an extra hug and then tell them to get out. And how do I give them my full attention? Because one of the things that I think I struggle with sometimes, Leisha, especially when I'm on service, doing all the things that we do, we have this podcast, I have other ventures and things that I'm doing, and all of those require my time and attention. So I can be physically present with my children, but not mentally, not emotionally, not actually present with them. And so, how do I make the most of the time that I have and give them their attention? So, thank you so much for bringing this. It really hits home. I talk to my mom every day. I talk to my dad probably like once a week, and I go home pretty often. So, from like a parent perspective, I think I see them quite often. I see them even more now because I have kids, and I want our kids to have a relationship with their grandparents. And I also need free childcare. I think I have the parent thing down, but I think this really helps me to reflect on, how am I parenting and how can I make the most of these formative years where my kids actually want to spend time with me and they're in my house.
Yeah, and that brings me to, how do I use this information to change the way that I live my life so that I have more time wealth? And again, you can increase your time wealth by having that awareness that time is finite, by being able to focus your attention on the things that matter, and by trying to get more control of the time that you do have. And so when we talk about, okay, what are some ways that I can think about this? How can I use this information to change my life? Studies show that the time that you spend with your parents and your siblings will peak in childhood and then decline sharply after the age of 20. And so if you are someone who is young, or maybe you do have siblings, just really thinking about that. Wow, the time that I spend with my parents and with my siblings is probably going to decrease over time, or at least it does for the majority of people. And so how can I use that information? Well, I can cherish the time that I do have. And then I can determine how many more times will I actually spend with my parents, with my siblings, and try to create more time. If I don't see my siblings that often, okay, what are some things that I can do to see them more often, to plan more events so that I'm spending more time with my siblings, spending more time with my parents? When it comes to time with your children, as you mentioned, time with your children is going to peak in the early years of their life and then decline shortly after. And usually that time period is age 10, because when your kids are really young, you are their whole world, you're their best friend. But once they start reaching, around those teenage years, they've got other friends that they want to spend time with. Maybe they get a girlfriend or a boyfriend that they want to spend time with. Then they go off to college and you're seeing them less. And then they maybe create a family of their own and have their own kids that they're spending time with. And so time with your children really peaks in their early years and then declines shortly after. So how can you take this information? Well, don't miss those early years, especially if you've got kids under the age of 10. Don't let work pull you away from them. Maybe you craft your career where maybe you're more part-time while your kids are under the age of 10, and then you can increase more after they reach age 10 because you know they're going to need you less at that time. I know some people may be listening and go, Leisha, I got kids over age 10 and they still need me because I'm taking them to here and there and all these other camps and things like that. I hear you, but I'm just saying, like, the quality time, the time and the years in which your kids think that you are the best person in the world, those really peak when they're a lot younger. And so really thinking about how can I craft my career and my life to really spend more time with them. And then we go to time with friends. Time with friends usually peaks around age 18, high school years, college years, and then it declines steadily once you reach age 30. And so really thinking about when I'm younger, maybe I have more friends, right? Because I'm in school, I'm in close proximity to a lot of people my age. So I'm embracing the breadth of friends that I have. But as I get older and I know that I'm gonna spend less and less time with friends, maybe instead of embracing the breadth of friends, I embrace the depth of friends. And I really try to pinpoint who are those friends that I'm gonna go deep with. And really thinking about how can I spend more time with them? How can I invest in my relationships with them? And then we start talking about your partner. Time spent with your partner, whether that's a spouse, a boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, whatever, time is going to go up steadily until you die. That's the person that you're going to spend the most time with as you age. And so, really thinking about, is this a person that I'm going to spend or that I want to spend life's ups and downs with, and making sure that I'm choosing correctly. And so, these are some of those things that I was really thinking about. Time spent with coworkers, that's usually steady during your working years. You're going to spend a lot more time with your coworkers in most instances than you may even with your own kids and your family because you spend so much time at work. And so, how can you use that information? Okay, well, maybe I choose a job that not only pays me well, but allows me to work with people that I admire and work with people that I like, work with people that don't stress me out, but instead add joy because I'm going to be spending so much of my time with them. These are some of the things that I'm thinking about. All right, how can I use this information to really change the way that I live my life?
One of the things that you said was create more time. And I thought about that. I'm like, "Ugh, that sounds like an oxymoron because it's one of the things that we can't create. Time is finite. But in that, there's also a lot of truth that when we create time capacity, we are essentially doing the things that you just highlighted. One, having the awareness to understand that utilization of my time is going to vary throughout my lifespan. And at the phase that I'm at right now, how am I creating time for the things that bring me value, for the things that bring me joy, for the things that add more time capacity to my life? Maybe it's quitting that toxic job with the coworkers that you don't like, creating a structure where you work for yourself or you find another job with people that you do like. Maybe for me, I don't spend as much time with my friends as I would like. Whenever I spend time with them, my soul is renewed. So, how do I create more time with them by scheduling maybe a trip every 6 months with my girlfriends? What I'm thinking about is time is finite, but the utilization of my time is a way that I can create greater impact of the time that I'm using.
What you said really resonated with me, especially if you were talking about how creating more time seems like an oxymoron. I was reminded of, my current schedule and my current job. I like my job. I love the people that I work with, but it's not lost on me that I could make more money if I worked in private practice or whatever. And it's so funny as I was talking to my friends about this, because it's something I think about quite often. They always talk about, well, Leisha, one of the things that they're really envious of when it comes to my job is the flexibility that I have, the fact that I can work from home, the fact that I'm only clinical a few days a week. And they're like, you know what I would give to have that kind of time. And
Mm.
so it just reminded me of, okay, instead of focusing all of my efforts on financial wealth, choosing the job that's going to pay me the absolute most, maybe choosing a job that has a balance of financial wealth and time wealth, because then it would allow me to be able to spend more time on other things that are important and to have more control of my time, especially the time that I'm not spending seeing patients.
Yeah, with that discussion with your friends, I think that it's important that we appreciate what we do have. There's a quote, I don't remember the author right now, but it's the author wrote the book Essentialism. And it says, when you focus on what you lack, you lose what you have. When you focus on what you have, you gain what you lack. And talking to other people gives us perspective. And so now focusing on what you have, okay, I have a lot of flexibility. So what do I want? What is the missing piece here? And how can I gain that? How can I add that in? It seems like there's an opportunity for negotiation for your friends, and an opportunity for them to really ask for what they want. And it also brings me to our Negotiate Like a Boss program that we have, where we teach you how to not only ask for money, but ask for the other things that you desire, the other things that have value, the other currencies that may be more valuable to you than the dollar, and to really empower people to do so, empower people to see the fullness of who they are, the fullness of what they desire, and the fullness of their wealth building portfolio. Thank you for sharing that. It makes me always reflect on, okay, yeah, I do have a lot of flexibility. What am I actually doing with what I have? What other people want? What am I doing with it? And how can I focus my attention on the things that I actually have, the things that actually bring me value so that I can maximize them?
One of the things that they talk about in the quest to really build more time well is that awareness piece. So, that second pillar of focusing your attention on the things that really matter. And I bring that up because I think that sometimes in our profession, or for people who are in high income careers, high earning careers, right? Maybe you might be the breadwinner in your family, or maybe you are in a profession that pays you very well. One of the things that we can get caught up in is working more because our time is worth more, right? If you work more shifts, you'll earn more money and you can use that money to do all of these other things. But one of the things that they mentioned in the book is that in your quest to do those things, maybe you should create anti goals, and how this is really important for people who are ambitious. He talks about how most of us have created regular goals. Like, I want to be able to earn X amount of money per year by this year in this way. Or maybe I want my net worth to be, I don't know, $5 million by 2040 or whatever. There's nothing wrong with creating those goals. But as you create those goals, maybe you should also create an anti goal. And this is something that you want to actively avoid as you're pursuing your goal. For example, if you want to be CEO of a company, maybe your anti goal might be, I won't spend more than 10 days away from my family each month. So if this new role requires me to spend more than X amount of days away from my family, then I'm going to turn it down because I want to make sure that I'm not sacrificing time wealth as I'm building financial wealth. If you want to make more money at your job, maybe an anti goal might be, I will not work on Sundays. So even though I do want to work more and earn more, I'm going to make sure that I'm not sacrificing time wealth, and I'm going to make sure that I'm reserving Sundays for my family. Or maybe your anti goal is, I want to move up in my career, but I'm not going to miss my kids' events on Saturdays. Or I'm not going to work from the hours of 6 to 8 p.m. on weekdays because I'm going to reserve that time for my kids. So it's
Mhm.
just a way to kind of prevent yourself from losing time wealth as you continue to be ambitious and to move along in your career.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because it requires some thought, right? It's like, okay, yes, I want to accomplish this goal, but by accomplishing this thing, what am I sacrificing? What are some of the balancing measures, as we call it in QI? And how do I create safeguards, understanding the likelihood that that might happen, and then creating these safeguards so that it does not happen, or maybe it happens a lot less. I really, really love that because I'm an ambitious person. I got my goals. I'm like, shoot, this one goal I'm working on, I don't know if I'm going to get there. I got to pick up the mileage. I have to run a little bit more. But by doing that, what am I sacrificing? Like, what are some of the threats? One is injury, one is time. Maybe when after I finish the run, I'm a little grumpy. So, how do I put myself in a better physical state so that I can accomplish this goal? Maybe before I start to run, I actually get a personal trainer or do some different things. I really, really appreciate that. And I can say that that's not something that I consider when I'm outlining my goals. I don't think about the balancing measures. I don't think about the sacrifices. I think that's the second pillar of goal formation. Alicia, you are literally like changing my mind here. Like, I need to add that into my practice because I make a lot of goals, but I don't think about what am I sacrificing and how can I build that as a second pillar to my goal so that I don't redistribute in a way that now it's that I have no time with my family. Now that I have poor health because I'm just working all the time and I don't have time for meal planning or time for exercise. So I think that this really, really helps us to drill down and think about planning each specific goal. Not only how are we going to get there, but what are some of the risks in getting there? What are some of those stumbling blocks and how can we prevent those?
I love that in terms of, we talked about the fact that time is finite and how can you use that information to change your life. We just talked about awareness piece of like, as I am pursuing various goals, let me have an anti goal or a balancing measure that I am not going to sacrifice so that I can make sure that I'm still having the time wealth I need, even as I'm pursuing these other goals. And I think the last part is control, right? You want to have control and freedom over your time. And so for a lot of people, that question may be, okay, Alicia, that sounds great, but how can I build that in, right? I work a standard job with a standard schedule. How can I create more control over my time? As I was thinking about this, I was thinking about, okay, so what are some ways that people can do that, have more time freedom? That might mean going part time. And for a lot of people, that kind of starts with, okay, how much money do I need to live? What are the things that I'm spending money on? Can I afford to cut back? Because maybe I can go part time and just create more free time that way. If you can't go part time, and going part time doesn't mean that you automatically increase your workload by 50%. Maybe part time for you is instead of being 1.0 full time equivalents, maybe you're point 0.8. You go down and you take an extra 1 day of the week off or something like that. But one part of that could be going part time. Another part could be advocating for more vacation time, right? You're getting more paid time off. Maybe that's important to you so you can create more time freedom and go on more trips and spend more time with your family. And that vacation time could mean another trip. It could also mean, all right, I'm advocating for more vacation time so that one Friday a month, I'm going to take off and I'm going to spend that day with my husband. I'm going to spend that day with my kids. So it might not be more vacation time to go on a trip for an extended period of time, but it could really be using that vacation time to create a wellness day for my family. That could be one way that you have more control over your time. Maybe it's moving closer to family so that it's easier for you to see them and spend more time with the people that you love. Maybe it's not necessarily working part time, but working from home. So advocating for more job flexibility so that you can do some more things from home. Maybe it is starting earlier in the day. If you've got a goal where you want to work out, because as you mentioned, Brittany, you're trying to train for this race, but hey, every time I get off work, I'm actually sacrificing time with my kids. Maybe you say, I'm going to train earlier in the morning. So I'm going to actually make the sacrifice of waking up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. so that I can accomplish that goal. So that when I get off work in the afternoon, I can spend more time with my kids without sacrificing time with my kids. Maybe it is hiring a personal assistant. Yes, there are things that you could do, but there are also things that you could outsource so that you could create more time. Maybe instead of spending your Saturdays cleaning your home, you hire a maid to clean it for you during the week so that you can have more time with your family on Saturdays. Maybe you carve out an evening each weekend or an evening once a month to go on a date night with your husband or to spend time with your girlfriend so that you can, again, create more quality moments with them. Maybe it's turning down some side gigs that, yes, could pay you more, but take you away from your family. So, again, these are some of the ways that you can try to create more control over your time so that you can then allocate that time to the personal things in your life that really matter.
Isha, I think that that is great. I appreciate all of those and I do a lot of them. One thing that I would add is how can you combine tasks to accomplish two goals at once? This is something that my husband and I do often. When there's a conference, I might be presenting at the conference, but he will come. And so I am sacrificing maybe going to all of the conference events to gain spending some time with my husband, but this is also time away from the kids that we have together. So that's one way that I've done that with my kids. If I need to prepare dinner, I invite them to cook with me. Have purchased the knives that are kind of jagged, but you really can't cut your finger. Okay, hey, let's do some meal prep. You chop up these things and we turn on some music and kind of make it a family activity to achieve the goal that I have of needing to prepare dinner. I used to take my kids on runs with me when I had a running stroller and they were a lot smaller. And then I would run to the playground and we would have a picnic in the playground and I would run back. So if there's some way that you can kind of combine tasks, then that also helps you to maximize the time and involve these people in these activities. Another thought that I have is if I don't do this task in 2 weeks, will someone die? Will, I lose something? And usually if the answer is no, then I'm just like, oh, I don't need to do this.
Yeah.
Just gotta eliminate this task. That's the process. And maybe I get an email if I don't show up for a work meeting time again. But if I'm not presenting, I'll read the summary or I'll listen to the replay as I'm going on my run. There are things that we have to do, and there are things that people would like us to do that we don't really need to do. And I think sometimes we adopt other people's priorities for our own when they're not as important to us.
Ooh, you just dropped a mic right there, okay? Dropping gems. That was a word, okay? There are things that people would like us to do, but we don't really need to do, okay? I felt that one in my soul. So thank you for that. I loved your ideas of combining tasks. I think that's really important. And I'm going to try to think about ways in my life that I can combine things as well. So hopefully our audience found that helpful and ways to create more time. We'll try to continue this series about other kinds of wealth as well. So we can make sure that we're not solely focusing on money, but focusing on other aspects that will allow us to live a full and happy life. All right, Brittany, as we close out this episode, what is something fun that you are doing with money?
I don't know how much fun. I think I need to redefine fun, but but how I'm spending my money is on coaching. So I have this goal that I want to achieve, but as we're talking about time wealth, it's like, okay, I can struggle through this and figure this out. I am a smart girl. Or I could pay someone, I could exchange one currency, which is money, for someone's expertise to help me to collapse time. And Leisha, I am so grateful. This person that I hired as my coach first, they have a rate of like $150 an hour, and I didn't even pay anything. And they had already afforded me so much value. And then he finally was like, okay, here's the invoice. So I paid. And there was a task that I was supposed to do that was really like keeping me up at night. He just sent it over, completed for me. I'm like, oh, this is worth more than what I paid you. Let me give you a tip. So I am so appreciative that I understand that someone's expertise, like they spent years making mistakes, right? They spent all of that time. And now I get to leverage it just for an exchange of money. And I think it really goes hand in hand with the conversation that we have. So that's how I'm spending my money for fun is I have purchased coaching.
Well, I love that. And I think for anybody listening, you just dropped a word on us. Because I think sometimes in our quest to build wealth, we're thinking about, I need to save the money that I have and earn more. When what you just said is sometimes it takes a little bit of money to make some money. And in your quest to be so frugal, sometimes we could be missing out on just paying for something that could help us, one, collapse time so we can have more time wealth, or two, make substantially more money sooner. Right. So you could struggle and try to find these things out on your own, or you could elicit and hire the help of an expert who could really help accelerate that process for you. And so that's something that we can take into heart. I know we have our coaching program, whether it's the Negotiate Like a Boss, where we're teaching you how to negotiate so you don't have to suffer through a bad negotiation. You can advocate for yourself sooner. We, of course, also have our Boost program that helps you learn how to create a side gig in the right way. Again, you could learn this stuff on your own, or you could hire a coach, hire us to kind of help you navigate that process. And so I wasn't even planning to talk about it, but it just fits in so effortlessly. So if you're listening to this and you are interested in one or both of those programs, please shoot us an email at wealthmindedmd@gmail.com. We're happy to let you know more information about when those will be launching. For my fun money, I mentioned I'm going on my cousin's cruise to Greece, and we are in the process of thinking about excursions. Excursions. What are some things that we want to do? We're going to be on this boat, but the boat is going to dock on different islands in Greece. I think we're going to Santorini and Mykonos, and I think we might be even going to Turkey as a part of this trip. So I am excited about this, excited to spend some time with my family. And also thinking about, all right, how much money are we spending on excursions and what are we doing? Some of these things are a little pricey. And I'm like, okay, that seems like a lot. But trying not to be too frugal, trying to just kind of, all right, this is time with family. I can afford it. So let's do it. And let's come up with some fun excursions, create some fun memories. So that's kind of how I am spending my money.
Yay, I love that. And I'm super excited. I'm going to have to steal this idea because there's so many cousins that I spent a lot of time with when I was younger that I haven't really spent time with as adults. So that is a great way to spend your money for fun and also to use money to make more time wealth. So, girl, you teaching us over here. Well, we hope that you learned something. And as always, make wealth minded decisions. And we will see you in the next episode. If you're interested in our coaching program, Negotiate Like a Boss, then we have a masterclass coming up. Just click the link in the show notes to sign up and get all of the email notifications. We can't wait to see you there. Bye bye.
Hello.
Hello, and thank you for listening to our podcast. And because of that, we have something for you, our Wealthy Minds Blueprint.
Have you ever thought to yourself, I wish I could be better with money? Do you want to start investing and saving for retirement, but keep delaying because you don't know where to start? Our Wealthy Minds Blueprint is here to help.
This guide will teach you what you didn't learn in your training so you can stop being confused about money and start taking what we call wealthy minded action.
We'll help you become a master of your finances and simplify investing so you can get started today. Take control of your financial future by downloading your free copy of the Wealthy Minds Blueprint now and start building the wealth you deserve.
One of the most important things you can do is ensure you have long-term disability insurance. Long-term disability insurance secures your income if the unexpected happens and you are unable to work due to medical illness, chronic conditions, or an accident.
Unfortunately, all insurance agents aren't created equal. Some of them are so focused on making a sale that they fail to reveal certain necessary information, tell you about discounts available, or clearly explain the process. Prati Botto and his team at PKA Insurance Group are different. They have a reputation of putting people over profits and always doing what's best.
If you need life insurance or disability insurance, reach out to Pradeep and his team today. They will help you get the insurance you need with the service you deserve.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Brooke. I'm recording a little disclaimer for my mommy, Dr. Brittany Halford, and her friend, Dr. Lisa Taylor. Just so you know, they're not financial advisors, tax professionals, lawyers, or financial planners. Everything you hear is for education and entertainment. It's not strict financial advice, you know. So use your best judgment, chat with a tax professional, and all those other people that you need to talk to. Thanks for tuning in today. Keep cruising on your journey to wealth and wellness. Bye-bye.